Hey everybody, it's Matt, and I just hadn't made a video in a while, so I thought I would do one. I am going to someday promise to get back to the Rolling Stone reviews. I've got Beggar's Banquet coming up next. It's not what this is. Maybe next weekend. I've just been really busy with work, but I hadn't made a video in a while, so I thought I would just do a catch up. Some of the stuff that I bought lately. I was going to show. I ended up getting, I think, 8 versions of McCartney 3. Isn't that crazy? I have a couple of them here. The rest of them are at work, so I can't show all those. But there have been so many videos of showing every iteration and version of that album out there that if I showed mine, I wouldn't really be adding anything new to what's not already been out there dozens, if not hundreds of times. If you're looking for any specific orange vinyl, purple vinyl, CD variation, somebody, probably more than one person in most cases, have already made videos of that. So McCartney 3, and that's kind of the theme of this video, if there's a theme at all, is that 2020 was actually a pretty good year for new releases. McCartney 3 being one that's I had came out about a month ago. It was December 18th, so a little over a month ago, and I played it quite a bit when it came out, and then I got some other albums and was listening to those and CDs and stuff, so I hadn't listened to it in a couple of weeks or so. 3 or 4 days ago, I was driving to work and had the CD McCartney 3 in my car, put it in, and it's the first time I'd listened to it in a couple of weeks, and it still sounded really good. I did a video here, just my initial reactions, and that's pretty much held true. There's a couple of songs that I really liked in that initial reaction video that sort of like, well, I still like them, but I don't know that I like them as much as I did and there's a couple of songs that I was lukewarm on that I've gone up on, but mostly the songs I really liked are still the ones I liked, and the 2 songs that I really didn't like much, I still don't really like them. But McCartney 3, so that was a good album, and I think that is a worthy addition to the trio of the McCartney 1, 2, and 3 uh, canon of albums there. It's funny because I had not played Egypt Station in a long time, so maybe a year or so, and a few months back, around September, October, I took that. I have a CD, I've got it on album, got the suitcase, played that in the car going to work here, like I said, 3 months or so ago. Done. Not a bad album. I mean, there's a couple of songs, 2 or 3 songs on there I really like. Those still hold up. Some of the other songs are just okay. Not a terrible album, sort of a mid-range album for him. Egypt Station, I think, and it's way too early to tell. But I was heartened by the fact that I hadn't played McCartney 3 in a couple of weeks and listened to it the other day, and I actually got a long drive to work to and from, so I listened to it about 3 times. Listened to it a couple of times going to work, listened to it again coming home, and really held up. Wow, fun, good album. But McCartney 3 is not the only, and in fact would not be my favorite album release of last year. It'd probably be like number 3 or 4. I'll put it at 3 because it's McCartney 3. I just hypothetically speaking, but there are quite a few good albums, and this is the danger of watching YouTube videos because several people did their favorite albums in 1920 or 2020. I'm sorry, I'm 100 years off there, but so Norman Maslow, I watched his top 20. Matthew Street, I believe, did his top 20, and some other people. A lot of albums, people I've never heard of. But the danger in watching those is that you see something that looks interesting and then you go listen to some of the songs on YouTube or whatever, and the next thing you know, you're buying more albums, and that's the last thing, probably need to be doing. But, and I've showed this before, Well, this would be my favorite album of 2020. Paul Weller on Sunset. Paul Weller, of course, is a Jam, and this was his latest album. He puts out albums pretty much pretty close to every year. Already working on another one, I hear, almost done with it, and so he'll have an album out probably this year. Um, the Jam, my favorite, third favorite band after the Beatles and the Kinks. Love the Jam. Style Council. He after he broke up the Jam, he formed the Style Council, and they were around for a few years. Some good stuff. Didn't get into him as much as I did the Jam. Then he been solo since the '90s, and um, was watching a video by Mazzy just now, and he was talking about the year 1982, and that's when the Jam's last album, The Gift, came out. He really loves that album, but he was saying that he loves the Jam, but is not doesn't dislike Paul Weller's solo stuff, but can't get into it as much as he can the Jam. I'm sort of the same because the Jam were such a great band that it's hard to top. But his solo stuff, I think I like it a little more than he does, and um, his solo albums of the last, he's 60 something now. Weller is, and his solo albums of the last 10 years or so have been really strong. I think even stronger than the ones he did back in the '90s and the Style Council stuff. In a lot of cases that he did in the '80s after the Jam. But this is just a incredible album, and all sorts of different styles. And he's still he's one of those people that goes into different styles and different directions. He doesn't just continually put out the same sound year after year like a lot of artists or bands tend to do. But it's usually always interesting, and on Sunset double album, really, really incredible, good album. That gets my vote for best album of 2020. So there's a couple others. Drive By Truckers, a band that I like that's been around since I guess the '90s, maybe the early '90s, late '80s. I don't like much from the '90s, but they're a fun band. They actually put out 2 albums in 2020. I don't have those. Both of those are pretty good albums too, though. And Lydia Loveless has a new album out in 2020 that I still need to get. I've heard it is really good. Can't show you that because I don't have it. So you didn't come here to listen to me talk about albums that I don't have, that I can't show you. I don't think you did anyway. But another band that really good band. I would put them in. If I was ranking my favorite American bands, they would definitely be in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5. And a great band that never got the exposure, radio play, or whatever that I think they should have. But X, who have been around since the early '80s, they put out their first album, Los Angeles, which is a classic. Uh, produced by Ray Manzarek of The Doors, came out in 1981. This is their newest album in 2020, came out, and I don't think they had put out a new album, and it had been a long time, but I saw them in concert at January of 2020, I think it was, very early in the year before COVID shut everything down. So Squeeze, the English band Squeeze, another great band, Tempted by the Fruit of Another, and Black Coffee in Bed, and Pulling Muscles from a Shell, that band. Squeeze was the main act, and X opened. 2 incredible bands, and Squeeze has been around since the really late '70s, I guess, early '80s, late '70s. X has been around since the early '80s. So these guys are in their 60s and all. Both put on just incredible shows. Both bands still in good voice, really good musicianship, and for a late career album, this is really good. It's so their first album, Los Angeles, is pretty much punk, Los Angeles punk from 1981, and after that they sort of maintained that, but they went in different. They sort of went into rockabilly, country, just straight rock and roll. They were sort of influenced by the Beats, you know, Kerouac and Ginsberg and all that stuff. So they had different sounds throughout their career. And this one's sort of just a return to their early 1981, 1982 sound with some variations. It's enough to keep interesting, but a really good, fun record. Not too crazy about the cover. It's called Alphabet Land by X. Kind of a strange cover, I guess, but there's your inner. And this would be, you know, I'd put this in probably the top 5 albums of the year. Came on blue vinyl. Get it on black too, but there were some other color variations. And it comes with a big poster. I'm not going to, basically to cover the album. And then on the back is some guy writing about how he discovered X back in the early 80s and how they meant so much to his life. So that's fun to read. But Alphabet Land, and you're not going to hear this on the radio, unfortunately. You're not going to hear any of this stuff on the radio, unfortunately, because radio doesn't even buy, you know, your Paul McCartney and Neil Young or Bruce Springsteen. You're not going to get much radio play with your current stuff. So certainly not if you're X or Paul Weller in America anyway. And so, but these are definitely worth checking out. These 2 albums, really good stuff. You can go to X's website and hear this album. You can go to YouTube and give some of these songs a listen, and you might discover some great new music by 2 old bands. Well, there's not really a band, but two people have been making music for decades that are still making great music worth listening to. And so I would recommend just go out and buy these albums. But you know, if you want to, don't buy them blind. Go check some songs out on YouTube or on their official websites and give this stuff a listen, because there's some really good music there, and that's not going to want to go back in there for me. So we'll take care of that in a little bit. The other thing, and this was from watching Mazzy's, pretty sure it was Mazzy and not Matthew Street, but he did his top 20 or whatever, 2025 of 2020. I keep wanting to say 1920. I guess I'm just old-fashioned. And so some of those I listened to and thought they were good and ended up buying them. So here's a fun album, double album. Very trippy, very psychedelic. This is another 80s band that's been around since, I don't know, they put out the first album in early 80s, 82 or so. This is their latest album, The Dream Syndicate, The Universe Within, and as the cover would suggest, it's a double album, very trippy, very psychedelic. This has got a total of 5 songs, so very long songs. One of the songs, the opening song, is 20 minutes long. The other song is 7:36, 8:56, 9:55, and 10:53. So just long, drawn out. Like I said, psych, trippy, space rock, prog rock stuff. Not prog rock in the way that some of that stuff can just sort of meander around, but even though these are long, drawn out songs, they still, they don't just wander around. They've got good beat, and you can dance to it, as they say. They've got hooks, they keep your interest, change around, some interesting stuff going on musically. Just a fun album to put on and listen to, especially when you get home at night or want to unwind. Beautiful album. It's got a lot of great music, some vocals on there, but most of the vocals on most of the songs are sort of the way that there is vocals on the first album on McCartney 3, the long-tailed bird, where he's kind of singing in the background and not even really sure what he's singing, but the focus is more on the music than lyrics or vocals. But fun album, good album, and this could have really fit in to have been released back in '68 or '69, and it's got that sound to it, but it's sort of updated and original at the same time, and good album to put on, have fun with. Another record I got is by the Eels, one of the other very few '90s bands that I ever liked, and they've been around. It's the Eels is actually one guy with some people playing behind him, but he just calls himself the Eels. His name is E. I forget his actual name. Disturbing, rather off-putting cover there, and Scary Clown maybe, but really good, just sort of a catchy, poppy, but hit you in the gut type music. So upbeat music that's got something to say, I guess. And this is called Earth to Dora. Check out, go to YouTube, check out the first song, Anything for Boo. Really fun, catchy song that's sad and bittersweet, but quite a bit of fun, and good album. This was one of Mazzy's recommendations. So there's some others. Matthew Street did a top 20, and there was an album, sort of a super group like Tinted Windows from a few years ago with Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick. This is I can't remember the name. I'll have to check his video, because I did go to the website and listen to the album. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to get it. Haven't got it yet. It's got Elliot Easton from the Cars, Clem Burke from Blondie, one of the guys from the Romantics, and then a couple of other guys. So it's a really 80s power pop, new wave sounding thing. Quite a bit of fun. I have got to order that. Looking forward to it. So that's just some stuff that I bought of late, and I've got a couple other things to show, and these are not recent albums. They're just re-releases. So I got Sign of the Times by Prince, the big box set, and I showed that in a video here a little while ago. That came out in 2020, I believe. And then in 2018, 2019, Prince did his deluxe, well, he didn't, they put out the Prince Super Deluxe Edition of 1999. Just one of the great albums of the 80s, one of the great albums of all time. A classic album. And I thought I would like to get that. But it came out in a vinyl set with 10 albums. It came out in a CD set with 5 CDs and a DVD. The vinyl set had a DVD too with it. I guess they sold out pretty quick, but they had them on Amazon. It's funny because the CD set was, you could buy it from other sellers for like $400. Just could do that, and you get the 10 album set, and it was down to about $200. And I was thinking, well, I don't know, maybe. And then I just put it off, and it checked, and it had flipped where now the album set is going, they're asking like $400 and something. Wasn't gonna pay that. CD set was still pretty high. It's funny because the album set's come back down. It went down to about $300 that people were asking for it, and back and forth. And the CD set was still in the $400, and it started coming down closer to the $200. But I happened to check one day, and one of the Amazon sellers had it for $56. So I jumped on that and grabbed it, because the next, when you go on Amazon, you can buy directly from Amazon if they have it. If they don't, sometimes they'll have kind of like people sell on Amazon, like people sell on eBay, however that works. And the next one up was like $100 and something for the CD set, but this one guy had it for $56, so I jumped on that. 5 CDs, a book, and a DVD for $56. Not a bad deal. So didn't get the vinyl, but I got the CD set, which is fine. I don't know how that's going to show up because it's got the mirrored front there. I can play them in my car. 1999, just classic album. Probably the, I don't know, second best Prince album for me, maybe after Purple Rain. All his 80s stuff is pretty much essential, so great stuff. But love this album. I remember when this came out, him being on MTV with Little Red Corvette in 1999, and all those videos, and so yeah, really good. But so you get the box, comes in, and then 1999 there, and you get the that was on the back of it. And this one, I always say, because I hate, complained about this a lot, when you get a box set, they'll have this thing on the back that's not, they ought to just make that the back. But a lot of times they come loose and you don't know what to do with them because you can't. This one actually fits in the box, so that's nice. But on one I'm about to show, it doesn't. On a lot of the box sets, Beatles and Led Zeppelin and stuff, where they have that thing that's too big to put in the box, so you just have to throw it away or put it somewhere else. But that just lists all the track listing. There's a hype sticker that I kept. So you get the 1999, the original CD remastered. You get CD 2 that has promo mixes and B-sides, a lot of great B-sides from 45s that weren't on the album. CD 3 and 4 are vault tracks, so unreleased and alternate takes and so forth. And I listened to the 2 vault track CDs so far. I haven't listened to this whole thing yet. I've got so much that this just haven't had time to listen to. I'm still listening to the Jefferson Starship Blows Against the Empire and the 2 Bangles albums that I got back at Record Store Day, and getting into those and trying to get into all this is just not enough time in the day to really delve into these albums, unfortunately. But 2 vault tracks and a lot of really good stuff on there. CD 5 is Live in Detroit from November 30th of 1982, and then the DVD is Live in Houston from December 29th of 1982. So haven't seen the DVD yet, but there's that and the hype sticker. And this would have been fun to get the vinyl box set just because this book would have been a lot bigger. But there's a book with essays and track listings and just, you know, the usual book talking about interviews with some of the people that are still around and so forth. So that's cool. And you get the, I already kind of told you what was on the CDs, but you get the original album, you get the B-sides, remixes, vault, and that is the DVD, and promo mixes and B-sides. So I think that's out of order, so I'll put all that back together in a little bit. So like I was saying, the danger of watching YouTube videos is a lot of times you will see people talking about albums or something that all of a sudden you didn't know you wanted 5 minutes earlier, and now you can't live without them, so you go out and buy them. Larry Graves, Canadian Stud Buffin, had done recently reviewed all of the Lou Reed albums, which is a good fun. Go check those. He's always fun to check out anyway, but go check out those reviews. I have all the Velvet Underground albums. Never really paid much attention to Lou Reed's solo career. Everyone knows, you know, Perfect Day and Walk on the Wild Side. I think I've got, still have it, Transformer on CD that I got somewhere back in the 90s, and it might be still in there, I'm not sure. But other than that, I hadn't paid too much attention to his solo career, but I was watching Larry Graves' reviews. I always watch his videos because he's a good, does really good videos. He's always fun to watch, entertaining and informative. So he likes Lou Reed a lot, and did all the reviews of the solo CDs, and kind of got my curiosity up, so I went and listened to some of those on YouTube, and actually really liked them quite a bit, to the point where I went and got, and I don't know if that's going to show up, but that's Lou Reed, the RCA and Arista album collection, which is what Larry Graves used to do his reviews. I mean, he already had some of the old CDs that he'd had for years. And this has got pretty much all of Reed's solo albums, with the exception of, I think it ends with Mistrial, and so you don't get New York and the 5 or 6 that came after that up to the end of his life. But there are a ton of CDs in here, and we'll show them all to you. So there, I'm not going to open this because it's hard to get it back closed. I already opened it, but that's an envelope with a bunch of pictures of Lou Reed. There is a poster. Not going to unfold the whole thing, but it's a poster of Lou Reed, and it's a heavy thing, just like that Prince Sign of the Times box set. Get a big Lou Reed book that, and Lou Reed actually oversaw the remastering of all these CDs and the putting together of this set. I think this came out on vinyl too, I'm not sure, but this was a CD set, and I picked it up off of Amazon, and I noticed when I bought it there were only like 4 or 5 copies available, and 10 CDs, I believe. We'll see when we get into them. It's like $124, so it's really not a bad price for the book and the pictures and the posters, and 10 CDs, and 1 or 2 of them are double CDs. But you get the Lou Reed book, people talking about some quotes from him, but they finished up the remastering and so forth, a lot of the stuff on this project, just 3 or 4 months before he died in 2013. So they talk in the book about him going through and listening to these albums as he's working on the remastering, because a lot of them he hadn't paid much attention or listened to in decades or years, and what a kick he got out of sort of going down memory lane, listening to his old records. So that's nice. Then you get a just black piece of paper, and then you get the CDs in there. So, and I haven't listened to all of these, but I've listened to quite a few. So you get, that's his first solo CD after the Velvet Underground. It's interesting because Larry gave this a good review, but said it's good but not great, and that's what I've heard. I'd seen this album CD around before, and I'd heard that his first solo album is sort of like Bob Dylan's first solo album, just good but not great, that he did a lot better later. So I wasn't expecting much from this, but put it on and played it a couple times the other day, and he did do better later, but I really liked this. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be. Of course, Transformer has got Perfect Day and Walk on the Wild Side. Kind of a big hit for him, as big a hit as Reed had anyway. Berlin is another good one, kind of difficult album. So I've already listened to these. I have not listened to this one yet, Rock and Roll Animal, which is a live album, pretty sure. So yeah, Rock and Roll Animal. And then the video's long, but I'll go ahead and just show all of these. Sally Can't Dance, which is one I'd seen around and never really listened to or heard, but that's one that I listened to after Larry's review on YouTube. Really good album. Good album. This is probably his best album ever. I'll be playing this a whole lot. If you know what that is, that's a joke. I don't know that I'll ever actually play that. It's kind of like the Wedding album, or electronic sounds. This, on the other hand, is really good. I did listen to this, Coney Island Baby, which is sort of a blue-eyed soul album by Reed. A Rock and Roll Heart, which I have not listened to yet, but I think that got a good review from Larry. So I'm looking forward to just trying to find the time to listen to all this stuff. And I miss being a kid when you didn't get as many records, but you had the time to just dive in and just devour them and listen to them and get to know them back to front. Whereas now I've got tons of records and don't have the time to listen to them half the time, and not more than a few times. And so you don't get to really know records the way you did when we were kids, unfortunately, too often. But Street Hassle, I remember this one being around. I listened to this, really good album. I thought, liked it a lot. Live, Take No Prisoners. Haven't listened to that one yet, so I don't know. The Bells, I think I did give that a listen on YouTube, I believe. That's one of them that I listened to, was pretty good. This one I'm not sure if I listened to yet or not. At least I didn't listen to it on YouTube. I know I didn't. I think I might have listened to it on YouTube. I'm not sure. I haven't listened to it, the CD, since I got it. And a few more and we'll be done here. The Blue Mask, supposed to be a really good one. Haven't heard it yet. Legendary Hearts, kind of a weird cover. Haven't heard that one yet. New Sensations, I do remember I Love You Suzanne being all over MTV back in, this was 1984 I believe when this came out. So I like that song. I don't know as far as the rest of it. Looking forward to hearing that. And then Mistrial, which I think is supposed to be just a so-so okay album, but we'll see. I haven't heard it yet. So that's just some of the stuff that I've, got a book, Beatle content. This is 156 Glimpses of the Beatles by Craig Brown. He's written a bunch of books. Wrote one on Princess Margaret. Have not read this yet. I'm looking forward to it. I read a few pages. I read about the first 20 pages or so, and I like the idea of this book. So 150 Glimpses of the Beatles is basically like 150 little chapters. A chapter can be anywhere from 1 or 2 pages to like 10 or 12 pages, what I've read so far. And it's just 150, it's not in a linear thing. It's not the story of the Beatles per se. It's just 150 random snapshots in time of the Beatles. So it might be talking about something when John Lennon's a teenager, and then the next thing is talking about the Beatles in 1967, and then the Beatles in Cavern Club days, and then it's the solo Beatles in the 80s, and then it's Beatle fans, and it's the so I like it. It just jumps around, but it's really interesting tidbits and sort of a novel approach. There's one of the early chapters or glimpses was talking to the lady that oversees and runs the tours at Paul's house. When you go to England and Liverpool, and you can tour Paul and John's house and Beatles sites. So she's one of the ladies that's one of the curators or guides or whatever for the Beatle tour stuff. And so I might start reading this tonight. I don't know if I have time, but I'm really looking forward to this. This is just, I think it's sort of a different approach to just the straight story of the Beatles or something, with just these sort of moments in time and unrelated, but just little nuggets, and sounds like it'd be a fun, interesting book. I actually read the Princess Margaret book, which was the same thing. It was just like scattershot little glimpses of stuff all through her life and people around her, so it was kind of fun. Haven't read anything else by this guy, but looking forward to that. And that's what I got. I do promise that Beggar's Banquet review will be coming. Can't tell you exactly when yet, but I'm at least thinking about it. Hope you all have a good weekend, and talk to you all soon.